Hello and welcome. We begin with Mozambique, all the latest, where the tensions continue to simmer over the 9th of October presidential election and its disputed result. The Southern African nation is facing its most precarious post-election period since it turned into a democracy 30 years ago. Mozambique's main opposition leader, Venancio Mondlane, has threatened to wreak chaos and disorder across the country if a top court upholds the official election results. The 50-year-old Podemos party leader has also called on his supporters to paralyze the southern African country starting next week. The dispute currently rests with Mozambique's Constitutional Council, which is due to confirm the election results at the least 2 weeks ahead of the January inauguration of the next president. The council said it was working hard to achieve the electoral truth. Last month, the court also ordered the Electoral Commission to justify the discrepancies. Days after the 9th of October election, the Electoral Commission announced that the Frelimo Party and its presidential candidate, Daniel Chapo, had won with over 70% of the vote, extending the ruling party's 49-year rule. Chapo will succeed President Filipe Nyusi, who has served 2 terms and will be the first president born after Mozambique's independence in 1975. Now, the closest contender to Chapo, according to the Election Commission results, is Podemos party Venancio Mondlane, who won 20% of the vote. But Mondlane contends a separate count found that he received 53% of the vote, while Chapo was taking only 36% of the vote. Now, the poll result dispute plunged Mozambique into deadly violence. The country has been rocked by unrest in the last 2 months as thousands poured onto the streets. Protesters staged multiple blockades across the country, including those on border with South Africa. Now, these protests were brutally suppressed by the police. At least 130 people have died and hundreds have been injured in the violence. Human rights groups have accused Mozambique's authorities of brutality, using excessive force and live ammunition on protesters. The demonstrations disrupted 2 power plants, blocked mines, and further deepened the crisis in Mozambique, which is one of the poorest countries in the world. While violence unfolded on the streets, opposition leader fled the country, and Mondlane said that his home in Maputo had been surrounded by security forces. Last month, he said that he escaped an assassination attempt in South Africa, where he reportedly sought refuge after challenging the results. In a video posted on a Facebook, Mondlane said that he was in mortal danger after assassins went to his home to try to kill him. Some reports claim that he is now hiding somewhere in Europe. From hiding, Mondlane has been calling on citizens to come together to march in Mozambique. Earlier this month, Mondlane said that he will seize power in January, calling himself the candidate of the people in a Facebook Live. Mondlane announced that he will be sworn into office as the president on the 15th of January. But if he returns to Mozambique, he is likely to be arrested. There are warrants against him on charges that include incitement to violence and crimes against the security of the state. His bank accounts have also been frozen. Mozambique's outgoing president, Filipe Nyusi, had invited the opposition leader for talks. Venancio Mondlane accepted the offer, but set conditions. Now, since his whereabouts are still unknown, he demanded that the talks be held virtually. He added that the agenda should be to restore the electoral truth and to prosecute anyone involved in vote rigging. Mondlane also sought a public apology and compensation for deaths during the protests, as well as constitutional, economic and electoral reforms. He has even sought legal proceedings against him to be dropped. So the ongoing political tensions are further deteriorating the situation in the southern African country. Unrest, violence and political uncertainty have paralyzed Mozambique and hit its economy, which is already in a dire state. Can Mozambique tread to stability, or will the verdict of the Constitutional Court further trigger unrest? Now, for more on this, we have with us Wilke Diaz, who is an analyst, observer and researcher of Mozambique's national politics and international affairs. Welcome to Firstpost.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon.
Now, you have been backing Venancio Mondlane's claims of vote rigging. Can you provide evidence or specific instances that substantiate these allegations? And why do you believe that the official election results lack legitimacy?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Sure. I have asked, you have been backing Venancio Mondlane, the claims of vote rigging. Could you provide evidence or specific instances, particularly that substantiate these allegations? And also, why do you believe the official election results lack legitimacy?
We work on the whole electoral process, and during, for example, in the voter registration or the people registration for the vote day, we saw so many irregularities, not only on this step, but first after that in the date of the vote. So we have evidence of that, all documents, what we said right now. So it's important maybe to the electoral National Commission of Elections to have that information and try to find one way to solve it, because it's not the first time we saw that type of problem. The part of the organization of the civil society work on that subject, have evidence that we saw fraud during this process. We put also that evidence in our social media. If the people need for more information, could go to our social media, because we put all information in real time, what's happening in the ground. But we don't show some type of the preoccupation about that subject from the responsible of the election sector or the other judicial sector to try to solve this.
And Wilke, Mondlane is called to paralyze the country if the top court upholds the election results, has raised concerns about potential unrest. Do you believe that such actions are justified, and what impact could this have on Mozambique's stability and economy?
Paralyzation of the country, entire country, created so many consequences in our economic sector. We saw, for example, in one day of the borders closed, it created so many damage for our economy. If you have, for example, in the during the day of the Constitutional Court will said, or will give that results, maybe we will see more problems inside of that process, and created not only an economic problem, but I think we created also a social problem. When I said social problems, we saw there's some people we want the basic service. Maybe you don't have any access because the most part of the sectors are we saw that polarization. But for example, direct to the point, or straight to the point, I think maybe the weapon, who have the weapon to try to stop this, it's the government. And when I said government, I said the president and the other actors, because in the most part of the time we saw the police are using the real bullets, or sometimes or the other negative reactions from the government to try to solve that problem. Maybe right now, I think it's the way to find another solution to try to solve that problems before and after the Constitutional Court give that result, and maybe on this week.
Right. Well, thank you very much for taking the time to be with us on Firstpost Africa.
Thank you.